Welcome back, everyone. And for the next two segments, we have Shannon Vasconcelos, and we'll be answering listener questions. Shannon is one of our veterans here at Bright Horizons College Coach on the finance side. So thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you for that nice way of saying Shannon is old.
Yeah, no, well,
listeners, just in case you didn't realize.
In case you didn't realize. Yeah. Well, those of you who are actually watching this will see that I'm the one with the gray hair. So anyway, so I can say things like that. So
right.
Yeah. All right, Shannon, let's go ahead and dig in.
Yes. So the first question comes in from Maggie. And she wrote into our website asking, have you already done a segment on undeclared majors, the pros and cons of applying undeclared? She can't find a segment in the archives, but she would love info on this topic. And I think she can't find it because I don't believe we have done a segment on applying as undeclared as far as I can recall. But do you have any insight from Maggie?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, part of the reason we haven't done a segment is because it's not that complex, honestly. The short answer is really yes, you can apply undeclared. It's not a problem. It's not going to make it harder for you to get into these colleges. And actually, if undeclared was a major, undeclared would be the biggest incoming major at most schools. There's some interesting data too. Like I actually researched into this because we get so many questions. And at my institutions where I worked in admissions, it was never a problem. But I thought, let's just double check. And, it's a huge... Not only would undeclared be the biggest major, something like 50 to 80% of students end up with a different major than what they initially indicated on their college applications. And even when they officially declare the major, which doesn't usually happen until at some point in the sophomore year, it's still like another 20% who might change at that point. So it's like, colleges know that. We think of the major indicated as like what I'm thinking about right now. Like that's how we take it. That being said, I'm just going to give the little proviso. If you want engineering, if you want business, or some of these computer science, these are heavily impacted majors. And so at some schools, I would say even at most schools, if you don't declare it at the outset, it may be challenging to get into it later on, or in the case of engineering, maybe completely impossible, basically. So it is there are a few, or nursing, that's another example, right? So look into, but if you're just kind of undecided, you're thinking kind of liberal arts, then it truly doesn't matter at all. You can really pick whatever works for you.
Yeah, and I think this is probably one of the topics that families, students to some extent, but I would actually say probably more parents stress out about, that my 16, 17-year-old doesn't know what they want to do with their life yet. And based on the stats you just cited, Sally, it is 100% normal and a-okay, and it's not something to stress about. As you said, most students apply undecided, and again, like you said, those who think they know will probably change over the course of college when they get exposed to new things, and that's kind of part of the point of college.
Absolutely. I can't stress that enough. I mean, I ended up in a history major. I thought I was going to be political science. History was not unknown to me, but I tried out anthropology. I tried out other areas. I thought about doing French lit, and that was part of the fun. And I had students who, I've had a number of students who've ended up in one who was pre-med who ended up doing public health. That's great.
100%.
That's wonderful. So,
So enjoy it, Maggie. Enjoy being undeclared.
Exactly.
Explore. You'll be fine.
You have until middle to the end of your sophomore year in most cases. So, All right. So I have a question for you, and this is a long one. So first starts off with a compliment from Monique. She's been listening to us for 2 years, and she says it's been instrumental in her success at coaching her daughter. So thank you so much. We love hearing that. Yeah. Please put a little review on Apple Podcasts. I'll just put in a note there. All right. So she said, we are nearing the end as we wait for her last decisions to come out this month. So her question is, my senior, so obviously this question was from about a month ago. My question, my senior is now applying for outside local scholarships. I am aware that students must report any scholarships they receive to their college, and that the college may, and then in parentheses, she says, most likely will reduce their financial aid and or merit award dollar for dollar. Many schools' websites say they apply outside scholarships to student self-help first, such as work study, loans, and summer earnings. So she says they seem to be saying that outside scholarships will not decrease the family contribution. So is she correct in her understanding that the only place outside scholarships are likely to decrease the parent contribution is at the state flagship, where my student has received very little merit and no financial aid? And what's the point of applying for a bunch of scholarships if this is the case? It was basically how she ended it.
Yes, excellent question, Monique. And it's so long because I think Monique already understands a lot of what's going on here, and there's a lot of absolutely correct information, Monique, in your question. There's some of it that I would take a little bit of issue with. And in fact, that last point, like, what's the point of applying for these scholarships if they're not really going to help me? I don't think that is likely to be the case. There are limited circumstances where it is, but in most circumstances, that is not the case. So what Monique is talking about here, and it's great that Monique is even aware that this is an issue. Most families don't realize it's an issue until they receive the outside scholarship and then subsequently receive a reduction in a financial aid offer. The federal government does have a rule, it's in the financial aid regulations, that a student cannot be awarded total financial aid in excess of their financial need as determined when they fill out the FAFSA. So, if the scenario is let's say based on the FAFSA at this particular school, you have $20,000 of need, you can only receive $20,000 of need-based aid. If you then receive a $5,000 outside scholarship, the government rules say, well, we thought you needed 20,000, but now you've received 5,000 from somebody else. Now you only need 15,000, and need-based financial aid will be reduced accordingly. That part is out of the college's control. That is a federal regulation when it comes to need-based financial aid. Monique also references merit scholarships in her question, and that is another part I take some issue with. Is it possible that a school will reduce a merit scholarship based on a scholarship you receive from an outside source? It is possible. It is not required, nor I would say is it typical. Colleges can do whatever they want with their institutional funding, including their merit scholarships. This is a much, much less common policy that a merit scholarship would be reduced. Need-based aid sometimes has to be, merit scholarships typically are not, but you do want to check the school's policy because, again, schools can have whatever policy they want in regards to their merit scholarships. But even with the need-based financial aid, under most scenarios, it still benefits the student to win an outside scholarship. So, a few different scenarios can play out. And Monique had a long question. I'm going to give a long answer to it because there are so many scenarios. So in actually the scenario where she mentioned her flagship state university, where she didn't receive much financial aid, if you did not qualify for need-based financial aid, there's in most circumstances, there's nothing for a school to reduce. So a scenario, let's just make up a family that has an expected family contribution of $30,000. The expected family contributions, those are sort of the results of the FAFSA. And the student's going to a school that costs $30,000. The school costs 30, they're expected to contribute 30, there's zero need-based aid eligibility. In that circumstance, if the student wins outside scholarship, it just comes right off of what the family has to pay because there's no need-based aid there to reduce. So that's one scenario, certainly helps you. Let's say the student's attending a more expensive school, a private school that costs $50,000 a year. Families expected to contribute 30, they have $20,000 of need. $20,000 is the most financial aid that the student can receive. But the big catch in the financial aid system is there is no guarantee that this school will actually award that student $20,000. $20,000 is the most they could give them in this scenario, but they can award them well less than that. That need is sort of a maximum. It's not a minimum. So you might have $20,000 of need in this scenario, but the school has only awarded you $12,000 need-based financial aid package. And then if you win a $5,000 outside scholarship, just gets added right on top of that need-based aid package because you have unmet need there that scholarship can go towards filling. So again, certainly helps the family in that scenario. Another scenario could be $20,000 of need and the school gives you $20,000 of financial aid. But that financial aid package totaling $20,000 consists of maybe some grant money, the free money, but also some student loans, also some work study. And typically, so in this scenario, they have a $20,000 aid package and they win a $5,000 outside scholarship, they're over awarded by $5,000 now. The school has to reduce the financial aid package. What most schools will do, as Monique references in her question, is reduce the self-help aid first, loans and work study. So now that family is receiving $5,000 of free money instead of $5,000 that they have to pay back with interest, or $5,000 that they have to put in hours of labor for in terms of a work study job. So again, even though the package is reduced, it's sort of the bad stuff in the package that's reduced and it's replaced with free money. So that is a good thing for the family.
Mm-hmm.
The only very, very limited circumstance where it really does you no good to win these outside scholarships is where the scenario where the family has financial need, the school totally meets that financial need with a full financial aid package, and that financial aid package consists entirely of grants and scholarships, the free money, there are no loans and work study. In that very limited scenario, Monique is right that it doesn't help the family. They're replacing one type of free money with another type of free money, and the work put into that scholarship, did not amount to much for them. But I cannot emphasize enough how rare it is that happens, that the family has need, the school totally meets the need totally with grant and scholarship money. Usually doesn't happen. At the very least, there's usually some little bit of student loans and some work study and a financial aid package. So the vast majority of cases, it does still benefit the family to win that outside scholarship.
Yeah, I would think everybody would understand the benefit of getting your loans replaced. And even when it comes to work study, you can probably get a non-work study job.
Yes.
I mean, I had work study jobs and non-work study jobs when I was in college, and 100%. It's fine. Like,
yes, it's not keeping you from working. It's just a different type of job that you need to get. Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Great. So apply for those scholarships in summary.
Yes. Exactly right. That is the short answer. None of my answers are that short, but that's the long and short of it. Okay. The next question came in from Claudia, who emailed us this question. She says, "Love your show." We always love to hear that. "Wondering if there are any past episodes on how best to search for colleges that have strong programs for students with learning differences. And if not, she would love a show that would focus on that topic." And I think we can deliver for her.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So we are going to be doing, I think we decided when we got this question that we are going to be doing an episode, because that is a really good idea. Yes. But just quickly this time, I wanted to say that while you're waiting for that to come through, I really recommend the K&W guide. The long title is something like the K&W Guide to Schools for Students with Learning Differences, ADD, and also who are on the spectrum. You should be able to get it at any major bookstore chain. It's a huge book. And what I really like about it is that it takes just a whole bunch of colleges, I don't remember how many, and it divides them into levels of service, right? So there's kind of just the basic level required by the Americans with Disabilities Act, which can be relatively little and might not be enough for some students, although fine for most. There's the kind of a second level where they give a few more services. And then the third level where you might honestly have to do an extra payment, but you'll have like an assigned counselor that will really like kind of help you through things. Schools like Curry College, Landmark College, Adelphi, Hofstra are all examples of schools that kind of go the extra mile in this way. University of Connecticut, Rutgers. So there's a lot of different options, but the K and W guide, look that up, initial K, ampersand, W. And you should be able to get a ton of great information. So, awesome. All right. Well, I think it's time to take a break. Everyone will be back in just a minute.